welcome back to Crush'em TV. And here we have U.S. authorities tapped. Well, the headline reads a little funky. It says tapped 3 million phones in a single wiretap, which is not exactly what happened. They utilize a single wiretap order to record over 3 million phone calls and messages from one wiretap order. Sounds a bit excessive now, doesn't it? I believe it is excessive. I think this is a problem. I fully support them, needing to be able to wiretap and to do what they need to do to go get bad guys. But when you utilize a single wiretap order to get over 3 million messages and phone calls, obviously you're hitting a lot of unintended targets, and that is excessive, and this is a problem. So the U.S. authorities utilize a single wiretap order to intercept and record over 3 million calls and messages last year, according to the Wiretap Report 2016 published by the U.S. courts. It was ZDNet website that found out. The intercepts were carried out over the course of 2 months by an undisclosed government agency. They won't even tell you who did it. So you don't know if it was the NSA, FBI, DHS, CIA. You have no idea. They won't tell you. That's not right. They should have to disclose who's doing this. It was brought to media attention by ZDNet again, the federal wiretap, with the most intercepts occurred during a narcotics investigation in the Middle District of Pennsylvania. Now come on, you're in the middle of Pennsylvania. There isn't that much going on there to necessitate 3 million frickin' wiretaps. I mean, and this is off one order. That is an abuse. It resulted in the interception of 3,292,385 cell phone conversations or messages, so they're including text messages in this. And that's what the wiretap report reads. The phone tapping was authorized to facilitate the capture of just 26 people suspected of drug-related activities. So you have over 3 million intercepts to catch just 26 people. I mean, come on. And then on top of that, it cost the U.S. taxpayers $335,000. However, it resulted in only a dozen arrests. So they get into the business of over 3 million people, and I would imagine the majority of those are not intended targets. They're not people that should have been included on this. They only capture 26 people. Out of that, only a dozen were arrested, and then it gets worse. However, none of those detained were convicted or taken to court, as the surveillance failed to produce any compelling evidence. So they blew $335,000, captured 26. But they didn't arrest all those 26. They only arrested a dozen. And out of those dozen, none of them were convicted because the surveillance failed. But yet they have over 3 million messages that they've went into. And you know dang well they've went into the business of a lot of other people other than their targets when the number is that huge. The ineffectiveness of wiretapping is well known, says Albert Gadari, the director of privacy at Stanford Law School Center for Internet and Society. That's what he's quoted as telling ZDNet. They spent a fortune tracking 26 people, recorded 3 million conversations, and apparently got nothing. I'm not surprised by the results because on average, A very, very low percentage of conversations are incriminating, and a very, very low percent results in a conviction. And in here, it resulted in none. According to the report, the U.S. federal government, the District of Columbia, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and 44 states have legislation that allows wiretapping. That's fine when it's needed. When you're going after a terrorist, when you're going after a bad guy, or, something like that. But when you're recording over 3 million calls, there is an obvious lack of discernment here. When I say discernment, in case it's not clear to you, it means determining what should be looked at, what should not be looked at. When you're recording over 3 million calls on only 26 guys within 2 months, there is an obvious lack of discernment of what should be and what should not be. That's a problem. There were 3,168 federal and state wiretaps authorized last year, which is a 24% decrease to the year before, 2015. 93% of all authorized wiretaps targeted portable devices such as mobile phones and tablets, the paper said. Electronic surveillance was mainly employed to investigate drug-related offenses, which accounted for 61% of wiretap applications in 2016. Now, I would argue that that right there is the reason for their failure. Because they should not be wasting wiretap resources, time, or money on drugs. Because people that are in that business are smart. They know how to code things. They know how to what to say, what not to say, because they know that they're likely being watched, and they're not stupid. They're not going to go saying, "Hey, buddy, come pick up the cocaine." They're not going to do that, which is why this is ineffective, and it is a waste of our money, and they should not be doing it. What this needs to be reserved for is terrorism. That's the only thing that they should really be going for, unless they have hard numbers from other sources to let them know that a wiretap, would actually be useful for a drug-related thing. But the numbers, which I've already shown you, reported out that this is worthless for what they're using it for. Wiretapping has become more expensive, with costs going over 78% higher from the year prior, reaching an average of $75,000 almost. The most expensive wiretap was carried out by the federal government, which spent over $5 million on a narcotics investigation in California. And that's not even the one that caught this 3 million, so God only knows why that one was so expensive. So it says electronic surveillance led to 12,412 arrests last year, with only 10% of the suspects later being convicted. So out of that 12,000, they only got about 1,200 convicted. They're wasting a lot of money for not a lot of good reasons. This needs to be changed. This is something everybody should be aware of. 3 million phones off a single wiretap is an abuse, and that needs to be investigated, and something needs to be done about that. And hopefully there will be enough noise made out there by people to change this kind of behavior. If you like what you see on this channel, please remember to support by donating to the Patreon. It's very important. I got bills to pay like everybody else. And please remember to like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and y'all have a safe and happy July 4th, and be careful out there. The world's getting to be a really messy place. Have a great day.